I scaled my agency to 80K a month using only organic content. However, the biggest challenge for me so far, as many of you know, has been staying consistent. It's extremely challenging, to say the least, to keep up with the latest AI news without going crazy, and it's also a very time-consuming task. So I thought, why not build an AI agent for that instead? Unlike humans, AI agents can read hundreds of newspapers, tweets, and even YouTube videos, and then repurpose this content into new, unique, organic content for basically any niche. But the best part about this agent is that it can actually also be repurposed for any other platform or business and then resold for thousands of dollars using MCP servers. So in this video, I will share with you my new and updated build and deployment process for AI agents that will allow you to create similar agents without even opening a code editor. So here's a quick demo of this agent. It works in two parts. Actually, it's not even an AI agent, it's an AI system. I will explain what this means later. But as you can see, the first thing that it does is it sends me a daily summary of all the latest AI news in Slack. So here I have a special content news channel where the agent automatically sends me the summary of all the top news from all of the newsletters that I subscribe to and from my Twitter timeline, which is extremely powerful because this literally used to take me up to an hour every single day. And the second part is, of course, the agent itself. So here you can actually chat with this agent. And by the way, Slack recently released a very cool AI feature, which I will also show you how to set up later. So now you can actually even start a new chat with your bot just like this. And then I can just tell it, hey, can you please check all of the latest news for the previous week and generate some content ideas for me. Amazing. As you can see, the agent comes up with some really cool and relevant AI content ideas, like for example, Gemini 2.5 upgrade or the OpenAI Super Assistant leak. This could actually be interesting. Let me check it out. So this is from the AI Breakfast newsletter, and many other ideas, like for example, Universal Memory API for AI agents, which is more like a tutorial-based video. And this one actually even includes a tutorial from the Unwind AI newsletter. So yeah, this is incredibly powerful. This is super useful for me personally. And now let me show you how you can easily create a similar agent yourself. Okay, so now let's get started and actually build this agent. So before I build any agents, I like to scope them out in Figma with just a very basic plan, basically just outlining all of the agents and all of the tools that will be present in this system. So here's the diagram. As you can see, basically we just have one agent and then three tools. So the first tool that we're going to use is going to be called Readwise. All of the tools, by the way, are going to be created with MCP servers. So that's why we don't even actually need to open a code editor. So Readwise MCP connects to the platform called Readwise Reader, which is what I use to collect all of my newspapers into a single feed. It's extremely convenient and it allows you to easily add newsletters by simply subscribing with a special email address that you can find in your settings. The second MCP server is going to be a Mem0 MCP, a platform that many of you may know about that adds memory to AI agents. I think for this AI agent specifically, memory is going to be really important because I want to make sure that the agent actually learns from my preferences. It remembers all of the previous content, all of the previous significant things that happened in AI, and then it should help it to generate a lot more relevant content in the future. And the last MCP server is going to be the Twitter MCP, which, as also many of you may know, is the best platform to stay on top of the most recent AI news. Literally everything that happens in AI happens first on Twitter. So this is the diagram for the AI agent itself. However, this, as I said before, is actually not just an AI agent. This is a whole AI system. The difference between an AI agent and an AI system is that basically, AI system has more components. So an AI system is essentially a more comprehensive solution. AI systems can include AI agents, but they definitely are not constrained to only using AI agents. AI systems can include more things, like, for example, simple chatbots, AI automations, agentic workflows, and so on. So in this specific system, we're also going to have an agentic workflow that will essentially generate daily summaries for me using the same AI agent and then send them to us in a special channel in Slack so that me and our team could discuss them later. This is exactly how we used to perform this process manually. Our assistant actually does the exact same thing right now. She checks the latest AI news and then sends me the 5 top most relevant AI news that we can then reuse in our company. Okay, so now let's jump in and actually start to build this out. So the most important component of this entire AI system is, of course, going to be MCP servers. And the platform that we prefer to use right now to find and deploy these MCP servers is called Glama. This platform, in our experience right now, is one of the best because it has, first of all, a huge variety of servers. Second, it also performs comprehensive security checks. And third, it allows you to instantly deploy those servers and then connect your agents to them later. So let's start from the first MCP, which is Readwise Reader. Awesome. So as you can see, there is already an MCP server for this platform, which I did, of course, check before I started building this out because, connecting to Readwise might have been challenging. Otherwise, you would have to create a pretty complex API yourself and figure out how to actually work with their API before you could do that. But here, as you can see, we have exactly what we need. We have an MCP server that contains a list documents tool that essentially just returns all of my previous articles and newsletters that I saved on my feed. Amazing. So let's now click Install Server. Make sure that you actually created the Glama account and then simply click Install Server. So it will ask you for all of the necessary environment variables depending on which API the server is using. And for this MCP, we just need to insert our access token, which you can typically find in settings of the corresponding platform. So let me do this now, and then let's click Install. Perfect. So then, as you can see, this server has been added to our workspace, and we get this SSE URL, which is essentially a URL that allows us to connect to the server using the server-side events protocol. I'll show you exactly how to use it in just a bit. But first, let's deploy the 2 other servers that we will need later. So let's go back to Glama MCP search, and then let's search for the next MCP, which is mem0. Amazing. So as you can see, of course, there are many mem0 MCP servers. I basically recommend just checking them out from top to bottom based on popularity, but it seems like this server has exactly what we need. It has the add memory tool, it has the search memory tool, and it also has the delete memory tool. So yeah, I don't think we need anything else. So let's just click Install Server and let's add our API keys. Amazing. So now just one more server left, which is the Twitter MCP. So when searching for MCP servers, it's also extremely useful to first understand which tools your agent will need, because then it will make it much easier for you to actually select the server that you need. So in this specific case, I want my agent to get all of the latest tweets from my timeline. So since I already subscribe to a lot of influencers in AI, I just want to use my own feed for this agent, just like I use it myself right now, so that the agent can essentially read my Twitter for me and then help me to generate content ideas that, I would come up with myself. So the most important tool that I'm searching for is going to be called probably something like Get Timeline or Get Timeline Followers tool. So let's actually just search for that directly. Awesome. So as you can see, there is a matching tool called Get Timeline here on top. So let's click on this one and see which server it belongs to. You can check out all of the other tools that the server contains under the schema section. So as you can see, this server has quite a few tools. We're probably not going to be using all of them, but it does have the most important tools that I need, which allow me to get tweets from my home timeline and from my following timeline. Amazing. So let me now set up this server. Twitter does require you to provide your Twitter application credentials. So in order to do that, if you want to build the same exact agent, you first have to go on a Twitter developer portal, and then you have to create an app. It's not a complicated process, and they also allow you to fetch, I think, up to 100 tweets per day completely for free. But I've already done that before, so I'm just going to insert my keys. All right, so let's click install. And now let's go back to the list of all our servers. And as you can see, we have 3 of our servers deployed that we need for this agent. So now it's time to proceed to actually building the agent itself. And for this, we are going to be using our own platform called Agency AI, which we initially built for ourselves to focus on what actually matters most, which is building agents rather than deploying them. This platform has a very generous free plan. So for this agent, you actually won't even have to pay anything at all. So let's go to our dashboard, and here under tools, we recently released a new feature, which is of course MCPs. So now you can simply hit new tool, then select MCP, click continue. And here you need to insert your MCP SSE URL. So let's add the name. In the description, I also like to add a link for the server on the marketplace so I can find that later. And then let's insert our URL. After that, we need to click Sync Tools to actually see which tools we have on that MCP server, and then only select the ones that we need. In this MCP, of course, we only have one tool, so there's not much to select. But in other MCP servers, like for example, the Twitter MCP server, we have over 10 different tools. And providing all of these tools to an agent when it actually doesn't need them can actually confuse it and increase hallucinations. So let's click Create Tool, and then let's repeat the same process for the 2 other tools. So as I said before, Twitter MCP has way too many tools. It has in total 23 tools out of the box, which is of course way too much for our agent. Each tool will not only make your agent less reliable, but it actually will also increase the amount of tokens that your agent will consume on each request, because the schema of this tool is actually also counted as an input to the model. So since, as I said, we don't really need anything but the tools to check the timeline, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to deselect all of these tools and then only select the 2 tools that we actually need. Oh, and also actually I'm going to include the Get Trends tool, which I think could also be relevant. Awesome. So now let's click Create Tool. And now, as you can see, we have 3 MCP servers on our dashboard, which is basically all that we need to build this agent. I mean, tools are always the most complicated part of any agentic system, and MCP servers significantly simplify this entire process. But again, as I said in my previous video, which you can watch right here, the reason MCP servers simplify this process so much is not because of the protocol itself. It's because now everyone is using that protocol. So the protocol itself is not as big of a deal as the fact that people are using that to create all of these tools for us. Before, there was no standardization in the AI space. We could not communicate with other developers using the same language. So everyone was basically building stuff only for themselves. But with MCPs, as you can see, other fellow agent developers can build tools like this and then simply distribute them on a marketplace. So other developers can just take those tools and connect to them instantly, which is exactly what makes this so powerful. So now let's proceed to the next step, which is creating the agent itself. Let's hit New Agent, and then make sure you also added the API key in settings. You can click also add new right here if you want to add your API key, and then you can click Create. Great. The next step is to actually add these tools to my agent. So let me simply select all of these tools under the Tools parameter, and then let's also add some instructions. So for this agent, I'm going to use the AI generation feature, and I'm just going to describe the agent that I want to build. So let's hit generate. Awesome. And now our instructions are created. You can also toggle the markdown option, which I think is extremely convenient, and then just walk through them. Of course, do not use the AI generated instructions out of the box. I'm just going to use them as an example for now, but make sure you actually adjust this template. The AI doesn't really have all of the context that you have or that I have about what I actually want to build and how I actually perform this process. So you do have to work on the instructions manually. Instructions is actually one of the only components of an AI agent where I would not recommend you use AI, or where I would recommend you use AI as little as possible. So as I said, for now, for this demo, this is going to work. But in the future, as I use this agent more and more, I will be tailoring the instructions of this agent to better suit my needs. So let's hit save. And now, as you can see, the agent has been updated successfully. However, one more thing that I just realized is that in order for this agent to fetch the latest AI news, it actually has to know the current date, which obviously these models do not know by default. So one other tool that we need to add is going to be get time tool. So the process is pretty much the same. I'm just going to do this right now by myself. And by the way, if you want to extend the capabilities of your agent, you can just perform the same process again. So for example, if you also want this agent to fetch the transcripts from YouTube, you will just need to go through this process again and add a YouTube MCP. So of course, there is a server on Llama for getting the current time. I think this is going to be a very popular tool. So let me just deploy this right now, and then I'll just add it to my agent. Okay, so now the server is deployed. And just so you know, guys, in the future, we will add a feature where you will be able to deploy MCP servers directly on our platform without using services like Llama. Okay, so let's add the server to our agent as well. And now I think we are ready to test it. So let me ask it to get 5 latest tweets from my timeline. Great. So as you can see, the agent responded with the 5 tweets from my timeline. And then let me also ask it to get the 2 newsletters that I received yesterday. Okay, so as you can see, the agent tried to list the documents from my readwise. However, it ran into an issue because it didn't first check the date and because it used the incorrect location. So this is exactly why you need to adjust all of the instructions by yourself. You see, when testing an agent, you will often encounter issues like this, where the agent might not deliver results according to your expectations. This is exactly what you need to put into instructions. There's no other way to know how to structure your instructions before you tested an agent yourself. So let me now simply add into instructions that the agent must always use the later folder for readwise and must always check the date first before listing the documents themselves. It's also a good idea to always mention the specific tools that your agent needs to use in instructions. Like for example, here I'm saying that before fetching documents with the list documents tool, make sure you first get time with the get time tool. This helps you to reduce some hallucinations. The rest of the prompt actually doesn't look that bad. So now let's go ahead and save this agent again. And then let me just retest this tool. You can also reduce temperature, by the way, if you want to reduce some hallucinations. It does affect the creativity of your agent a bit, but if you are struggling with reliability, then definitely it's a good way to do this. So as you can see now, the agent used the get current time tool correctly before fetching the documents, and then it printed the 2 latest newsletters that I received yesterday and even added links that redirect me to this newsletter on Readwise, which is actually super convenient. That's perfect. So I think now our agent is ready for the last step, which is deployment. So as I showed you on that diagram, the agent is going to be first triggered in Slack. Like I will just be able to talk to this agent like I talk to my own coworker, but it will also run daily and submit summaries by itself in a specific Slack channel. So this means that we need 2 integrations. The first integration is going to be Slack itself, so I can just chat with my agent. And the second integration to create an AI system is going to be Zapier. So we supported Zapier just so you can create agentic workflows while we are still building out our platform. But in the future, of course, we will also support this feature directly. So let's start from Slack. Let me first create a new messenger. Let me select Slack, and then let me just follow all of the instructions. The setup for Slack is honestly pretty simple. If you need any help, just check out our documentation or simply submit a question in our community. We also do provide completely free support if you are interested in AI agent development, and then just basically follow all of the steps. So let me just quickly go through this entire process. First, I'm going to select an agent, and then I'm just going to create the Slack app. Okay, so as you can see, it only took me a few seconds, and now we just need to copy all of the secrets and then paste them back into agency. Amazing, so just one last step left, which is to actually install the app on Slack. By the way, you can also simply hit this copy link icon, and this will allow you to send this link to someone who actually owns a workspace. Like for example, if you're working with a client, you can send them this link and then they will be able to connect their own workspace to the Slack agent. So let's click allow. And now our agent is ready to be tested in Slack. By the way, Slack also recently added a super cool feature, which you can find under agents and AI apps, specifically for AI assistants, which allows you to essentially chat with your assistant using a new pane on the right, just like you would chat with, Slack's native AI, which is really cool. However, don't forget that you need to reinstall your app if you want to enable this feature. Okay, so now let's find our agent in Slack. You can find it under Manage Apps, and then you can simply open the chat and send it a message, just like you would send to your own employee. Great, so as you can see, the agent responded to me, and it says that it's ready to help me with generating content ideas. So let me just tell it to check the latest trends and then generate 5 new high-performing potential content ideas. Incredible. So as you can see, the agent comes up with a list of potentially high-performing content ideas based on the latest news, like, for example, videos about Gemini 2.5 Pro, videos about the rise of SVE agents, the future of OpenAI, and a new benchmark for AI reward models that has recently made some noise on Twitter. So this is amazing. This is exactly what would have taken me at least an hour to check myself, to go through all of the latest newsletters, to go through the tweets, and then to also come up with these ideas myself. Now let's proceed to creating this agentic AI workflow to do this automatically for me every day. So as soon as I wake up, I'm going to have a list of the latest AI news without even having to open Twitter. So for this, we'll be integrating agent in Zapier, as I said before. So the process is also pretty simple. All you need to do is just simply select your agent, then click Save and Continue, and then install our Zapier app. After that, you'll be able to create your own new workflow using this agent. So for the trigger, I'm going to select the schedule trigger. So I'm going to set it to trigger every day at 8 a.m. without triggering it on weekends. So let's now test this trigger. And then let's continue to the next app, which is going to be the agency app. So let's select the event prompt. We might add more events in the future, but the prompt event essentially just sends a specific prompt to your agent so you can get the response back. And then let's connect our agency account. So to connect the agency account, all you need to do is just insert your agency API key. So you can copy it right here, or you can create a new one in settings and then simply paste it in Zapier. Next, click continue, then select the integration that you just created with your YouTube strategy agent or whichever agent you're creating right now, and then enter your input message. So in my input message, I'm gonna just tell this agent to fetch 20 recent tweets from my timeline and also all of the newsletters for the previous day, and then generate a quick summary of everything that's happening in AI. Chat ID you can leave empty. This is made so that the agent can continue a conversation later for more complex integrations. So let's test this step. Cool, so then we get the answer with the top 5 latest AI news, like for example, the updates on Google Joule 1.5 AI coding assistant. So this is super helpful. Now only one last step left to finish this agentic workflow, which is to simply send this message in a special Slack channel. So let's add another action, which is going to be Slack. And here, let's select an event, send channel message. So I'm going to send this message into the content news channel. And for the message step, I'm simply going to insert the answer from my agent. You can also add the name for the bot. So I'm just going to enter the same name, which is news strategy agent. Great. So let's test this step. And as you can see, we get this news summary in the Slack channel. However, one more thing I want to fix is, as you can see, the agent right now is not using the Slack Markdown format because it's slightly different from the Slack's typical Markdown. So I'm just going to add another sentence in the prompt. Please use Slack Markdown format. Great. So now, as you can see, the message looks much better and we have some pretty cool AI news from Google. So yeah, this is perfect. This is exactly what I needed. But the best part, as I said in the beginning, is that you can actually adjust it for any business or for any platform simply by switching the MCP servers. This solution can be easily resold to other businesses for thousands of dollars. And if you want to learn more about how exactly to productize, how to market and scale a similar solution, make sure that you watch my previous podcast with my friend Marco, who has already actually sold an AI startup just at 20 years old for millions of dollars. Thank you, and don't forget to subscribe.